Welcome to the I Hate Critics Movie Review Podcast. I'm professional film critic Sean Patrick. With me is Jeff.
Hey.
Find us at I Hate Critics on Facebook and Twitter, as well as at Critics Pod on Twitter and Critics Pod and I Hate Critics on Instagram, as well as I Hate Critics on TikTok, where it gets getting some good traction. We appreciate that. People coming here from TikTok, we welcome you. Of course,
Welcome, TikTokers.
you can find a lot of the stuff. I've finally been working hard on the Facebook page and really posting a lot of stuff on our I Hate Critics Facebook page. So you can go there and find a lot of news from the place I'm writing for now, which is Medium. I'm still writing for Geeks a little bit, but medium.com/realscope is where I'm predominantly going to be found for the most part, and hopefully people will find some stuff to enjoy reading. Like I've been doing a lot of Criterion updates. I've got a new update on the Criterion discs that were put out this month. Also did a thing on Medium's. I did a thing on Pixar's new movie Elio that's coming up very soon, and I've got a couple of things on Wes Anderson's upcoming movie, The Phoenician Scheme. So you can find those there at I Hate Critics.
Sounds great.
Yeah, I'm trying to post some reels too. I've heard reels do well. If you post reels, you can get you can get some traction. So we'll see.
Yeah, I've seen your thing. Did you know things you didn't know about all those? So
Yeah, having fun writing those. It's a lot of fun writing these news stories, and I'm still obviously reviewing movies. You can find like I with between the back injury and now the flu, life has been out to get me. So I've not. I managed to get a review of Friendship done. I managed to get a review of this new movie called The Sealed Soil. Not a new movie, but a movie from 1977 that is pretty incredible. It's the oldest known movie directed by an Iranian woman. It was directed in 1977. She had to smuggle it out of the country in 1979 when the Shah of Iran fell. And she brought it to America, and she's taken it around the world. And finally, UCLA was able to restore it to its original, beauty. And it's being shown in New York this week. And it is one of the most incredible kind of feminist statement movies you've ever seen. And it was made in Iran by a woman in 1977, which is pretty incredible.
wow.
Yeah, the director's name is Marva Nabili. She's still around. She's still working, and she was able to go to film school and able to do all these things before, of course, Iran fell to the more hardline right wing religious people in 1979, and that really kind of derailed a lot of female artists. But thankfully, her work has been preserved and is being seen this week, and you can read my full-length review of The Sealed Soil at on our Facebook page, facebook.com, and I Hate Critics.
That's great.
All right, let's get into some movies, shall we, Jeff?
Yeah.
Why don't you take us through the Mission Impossible franchise?
Jesus Christ. Okay. I have never seen a single one of these fucking movies because I hate Tom Cruise. There, I've said it. Everybody knows this. I think he's a garbage person who can't act. He does the same thing in everything he does. He always has, except for Magnolia. That's the only thing I've ever really liked him in, and I don't even remember him in. God, I can't even think of the name now. Robert Downey Jr. in blackface.
Oh, yeah, I know which one you're talking about.
Operation Dumbo Drop. No. Anyway, but I don't like him. I've never seen a single one of these movies because everything you see about them is Tom Cruise is doing this stunt that has never been done before, and he's doing all his own stunts. And okay, I don't care. Just gonna put it out there. So I said, well, you know what? We didn't record last week because of your injury, and I was free that night, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to start watching these. So I watched the first one. It wasn't bad. It was your typical, kind of spy TV movie remake, I thought. It was decent. I was more engaged. Um, but then I watched the second one. It was okay. By the third one, I was just kind of tuned out a little bit. It took me I I've decided that if I can't get into a movie, I'm not going to watch it 5 times to, like
Right.
start it over 5 times to get it. And that's what I kept doing with that one. I'm like, no, this starts the new rule right here. So I ended up watching that. It wasn't really into it. And then up until the one before this one that came out this week, um, I just thought it was so convoluted and such long stretches of nothing but chases, and it just was not for me. Um, I the third was it the third one where he was engaged to Michelle Monaghan,
Yeah.
and
Hmm.
then yeah, with Philip Seymour Hoffman, and I got into it, and then right in the middle, it just for me it just kind of bleh,
Hmm.
it just died, and I just I don't know, he's so repellent to me that um I don't care. I really just don't care. And it took a lot for me to watch a 3 hour uh version of this last movie. Um Even though the one before it was probably the best one since the first one.
Hmm.
I just thought that, it was a little more interesting. And I feel like all I really would have had to watch was the first one and then the last two. After I got through them all, I'm like, I really could have just skipped until seen the first one and then seen the last two, and I would have been fine. I would have known
Hmm.
everything that's going on because the the newest one has so many flashbacks and so much, like him in his own head that I pretty much picked up on everything that I had already seen. So,
Hmm. Well, I don't have your hatred for Tom Cruise. I kind of always liked him, regardless of his personal life or his religion or whatever. And I do like a lot of these movies. I enjoyed this one a great deal. The Final Reckoning starts 2 months after the last one. We've got the key, and we know where we need to get to. This thing is taking over the internet, is going to just fire off all the nukes in the world, and the IMF team, led by Tom Cruise, Ethan Hunt, has to well, they've got to retrieve the one thing that can stop this virus. And very simple, very straightforward, and just a setup for a series of really terrific action scenes. These underwater scenes are breathtaking. I mean, some of the cinematography, some of the way these were captured, and of course Cruise's dedication to doing these things himself, really just make these things look authentic and scary and dangerous and really very, very exciting on the big screen. I really had a great time with that. The plane sequence was just absolutely bonkers. And I love that for two movies, A. Martinez or sorry, not, Isai
Isai
Morales,
Morales.
same guy. He's anyway, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Isai Morales has been the villain of these two movies, and he's actually just such an unusual choice that it just really works for me. He's having such a great time being the top villain of this story, and certainly he's not a guy you first would think of. You'd think they'd get a big star to match up with Tom, and it's been a while since Isai Morales has been so out front and forward as a star of a movie. So I thought that was an interesting choice. Haley Atwell's having a fantastic time. I love the way they use her in terms of her pickpocketing skills, and just though she's so gutsy and in the moment. Simon Pegg is he began as sort of a comic relief character and has now become this he's rounded this character into this honestly genuinely dramatic character that I really enjoyed. And Pom Klementieff is fantastic in this
Hmm.
movie. I wish she could have done a little bit more, but she was picking up on the Tom Cruise stuff on the set. They were calling her Pom Cruise because she was wanting to do everything that he did, which I love.
I,
That I love the spirit of that.
yeah, I want to say that I really dig the way that they, in the last few movies, they use the women.
Hmm.
Um, Vanessa Kirby, I thought was great in the
Hmm.
last one, playing the dual role for a little while.
Hmm.
Um, and what you said with Pom Clementif and Haley Atwell, I wouldn't honestly mind seeing them in an action movie, just like a team up like an Ocean's 8 or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that was always very interesting to me to see those kind of female team ups. I just again, it's I know it's just has built over the years for me not liking Tom Cruise. It really started with the whole Brooke Shields thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I know I held that against these movies. Like I said, the last two, this one and the one before, I was kind of into because I thought it kind of, even though there were a lot long sequences of chase and everything like that, I did think that um, it was grounded a little more. And um, having strong actors like Haley Atwell and Vanessa Kirby, I think really helps Tom Cruise because like I said, I don't think he's a great actor. I think he's a good star.
Mm-hmm.
We've got movie stars and we've got actors, and I think he is more of a movie star. And these definitely showcase his movie stardom,
Mm-hmm.
where everybody else is given the chance to act. I think part of the reason I liked these is the farther they get away from J.J. Abrams and his sort of sensibility of like all the um, cameos and all his people that are in everything he ever does.
Mm-hmm.
Once we get away from that a little bit, I think that's when they start to get better.
I think so.
So
Yeah, J.J. Abrams. Although I do think three is pretty strong myself. I know a lot of people
mhm.
disagree. I thought the usage of Kerry Russell in that movie was weird and distracting.
Yeah.
Um, but overall, though, I did enjoy that. But I really liked every one of these except for maybe number two didn't really do much for me. But
Yeah. I felt like
I
Carrie Russell seemed like she could have been his daughter.
yeah, that was odd, right?
It was just she that was 23 years ago, and I still think she's like 30 now. Uh, so maybe that has something to do with the fact that she just seemed so young that I
Mhm.
felt like she could have been his daughter.
Yeah, it was just an odd dynamic, and she looks so much like Michelle Monaghan that when they do the flip over, you're like, wait a minute, what happened?
Yeah.
It was weird, but beyond that, I was a bit surprised you chose to do that.
So was I. Um, well, I mean, I like I said, I couldn't go into this one knowing that it was a sequel to the last one, a direct sequel to the last one, and part of a series where it's, apparently the last one. Apparently, I know they're going to do more. I just know it. Um, and I want to say this:
Hmm.
he is 63. Jamie Lee Curtis is like 64, 65 now. And they
Mhm.
gave her a lot of shit for coming back and doing all the stuff for Halloween, like, oh, next time it's going to be her and she's going to be in a walker and he's going to be in a wheelchair. And why aren't they saying that about Tom Cruise? Is it because she's not jumping out of an airplane or off the side of a cliff? Or
I think we know why they're not saying it.
I know I
It's
do.
just
I'm just
just pure bullshit hatred of
misogyny.
women, plain and
Yeah.
simple. Women in Hollywood aren't allowed to age. That's
Hmm.
the way it works, right?
And if they do, they're brave.
Oh, yeah,
Oh my God, she's so brave.
so
Yeah.
brave.
She's just a person.
Exactly. It's so stupid. It's so ridiculous, and it just limits the way you see the world when you think like that.
Yeah, and he's the same age, and nobody's saying shit about him, except a few of the gay guys that I know are talking about. He looks like he may have had a little work done, but personally just think it's Thetans. But
It's absolutely Thetans. It's absolutely that he has been fully audited allows him to be who he is. I gotta say, Christopher McQuarrie is an incredible director. I
yeah,
do want to see him do something original again someday. But the what he did with this and what he's done with the two other Mission Impossible movies that he's done, Fallout and Dead Reckoning, he's really given this series a coherence that it didn't have. He's kind of justified why this series has continued with his stylistic approach to the action scenes and making it all incredibly coherent because he's a writer and a director, and he's putting these scripts together. And I think that kind of visionary approach to this type of storytelling, especially when it's so dense and so thick, you need a visionary kind of guy, and I do see him as that. In terms of action movies, I don't necessarily think he's like an auteur or anything, but and he's more of a carpenter at this point than he is a legendary filmmaker. But I still think that his approach to style and his approach to bringing this story together and bringing these characters together, especially the way that he and Tom are so generous to those supporting players like Ving Rhames and
Mhm.
and Simon Pegg especially, they're so generous in giving them moments to build those characters. Like the way that Simon Pegg is built over this series is amazing.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm not a big Simon Pegg fan either, so I was really surprised how much I liked him once we got away from the J.J. Abrams of it all. Um, I thought he became a whole better character. So,
It also seemed kind of odd when they brought him in because, like, you've already got Ving Rhames as your tech guy. Why do you need another tech guy?
yeah.
But they turned out to work out really well together, and
Hmm.
I love what they did with Ving Rhames in this movie. I actually kind of got choked up a little bit during
Yeah.
Ving Rhames' big scene. I thought that was amazing. Yeah,
So I have a
I really enjoyed this.
towards the end I was kind of checked out a little bit. Did he die? Does everybody die at the end? Cuz it just seems like everybody died.
No, no, no. Everyone was alive except for Ving
Okay.
Rhames.
Okay. Just like when they're walking, like walking through the terminal, I'm like, wait, is this heaven? Is he going to heaven? Did he die? Did he, like I don't know, it just confused me for a
Spoiler
minute.
alert.
No, I mean it's not really if he didn't. Um yeah, it was just a weird ending. I hope it's the last one, but I don't think it will be.
I don't know.
Um
At some point, he's got to stop. I mean, he is 60 something years old. At some point, he does have to slow down and do something else with his life.
yeah, maybe
But
he can
then,
fuck Shelly Miscavige.
oh Jesus Christ!
No, Zeno.
Ah,
Oh, good
damn it!
times. I know I'm terrible. I'm just a horrible person.
Oh my God, what is happening? Yeah, so I think you're recommending this one though, even though you don't
I
necessarily
mean,
love.
if you're a fan of this kind of action movie, then yeah, it hits all the buttons. Like you said, I think this the supporting cast gets a lot to do and really carries it for me. Um, I think I would have completely checked out if it wasn't for Haley Atwell and Pom Klementif and Simon Pegg and even Angela Bassett.
Mhm.
Um,
That was a terrific series of scenes, and the way they used Nick Offerman too, I thought that was a great
yeah,
piece of misdirection in that scene. I was really, really into that.
yeah, I really enjoyed that.
All right, let's
Mhm.
get to the reason why people are here. Uh, hurry up tomorrow.
Oh, okay. Now you talk
Hur-
about this because you were really, really, really looking forward to it.
oh man, I love Trey Edward Schultz. I think the guy's amazing. I'm not going to stop thinking he's amazing. I think he's an incredible director who just got caught up in the tornado of the weekend, and oh, that is not a tornado anybody wants to be caught up in. Let me tell you. Um,
Can I can I just say I am so glad to hear you say that because when I was watching this fucking movie, I'm sorry, this music video, with the plot of Misery, um, when I was watching this, I was like, Sean, if you like this, I'm gonna fucking scream because it's so boring and bad and like there's nothing to it. It's literally just lights flashing all over the place and him looking like he's in pain all the time, talking
it
to
is.
Riley Keogh's voice.
It's it is so weepy, and it's so weepy it makes Hugh Jackman in The Fountain look like a butch performance. Like it is bizarre just how much time Abel Tesfaye spends crying in this movie, and I don't really understand why. I was waiting for the plot to begin the entire movie, just sitting there,
Mm-hmm.
just when is the plot going to kick in? What is the point? He's sad for the missing girlfriend. He's tired of being on the road. He's having trouble with his voice. Okay, cool. He's still creating. He can still write music, but where are we going with this? What are we doing with this? Then you've got Jenna Ortega's story, which is unfolding in a very intriguing fashion. She's lit her parents' house on fire, and now she's at this concert for the weekend, and they have a moment of human connection. And I honestly thought maybe this is going to be a romance and not a misery thing. And um, I I thought maybe like, oh, this is interesting. Like they could have a genuine connection via this one moment, and then the only time he ever seems to act like a person the entire movie is when he's being a complete ass to her.
Yeah.
Like the only time he comes alive and feels like a human being in this movie is the moment where he goes, "Well, I had a great time last night. I got to go now. We're gonna call it now, and yeah, I'll see you later."
I
Like
just,
I don't understand how at that moment he finally finds the presence that a movie star is supposed to have.
yeah.
Not that he's a movie star, but I'm saying that
No, no,
he
God,
is the
no.
star. He is particularly the star of this movie. He has to be in this movie, the lead actor of this movie, and he feels like he's present in that moment and no other moment in the movie.
Well, it's just so one of my coworkers, she always asks me about the movies that I see because she knows I have to go to the movies all the time for the show, and she goes, "Oh, what did you see?" And I said, "I saw Hurry Up Tomorrow." The day after I saw this last Friday, I was like, "Well, I saw Hurry Up Tomorrow," and she goes, "Oh, how was that? Is that the weekend?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "If you've ever wanted to watch him masturbate for 2 hours, this is all. That's all he's doing is like metaphorically masturbating and looking at the camera and looking pained, and he just it's so boring and really stupid. I mean, I thought it was so stupid, and I was really pissed because I thought it would be like a more of a horror movie based on the fact that he does like horror stuff, and
Mhm.
Trey Edward Schultz is very good at that, and Jenna Ortega is very good at that. But I mean, you would think that with that caliber of people in it, that it would turn into something. But then it literally, I mean, it from I don't care if I'm spoiling it or not because it just doesn't. I don't want anybody to have to see it. Um,
Mhm.
but when she knocks him out and ties him to the bed, and then she's going on about songs and just talking about his songs, and I said, "Oh, she's going to do Blinding Lights," and she does. And the way she talks about it, I'm not kidding you. She was completely ripping off Kathy Bates talking about misery in the books, like the books that she's reading when she comes back to life. And she's just so jumping up and down and excited about it. And I'm like, oh my God, she just watched Misery and is just aping Kathy Bates. But it just was so, there was nothing. I walked out of that theater and there was one guy talking to his girlfriend and how, oh my God, he's such a genius and da 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 da. And I looked at him and I made eye contact with the girlfriend and she looks at me and I went, uh, like with my eyes, and she looks at me and she rolls her eyes. And it was like that meme where the girl is standing there and the guy is talking to her with his hand, like
Yeah,
talking
at
about
her ear.
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was just like, why is this? Why? Oh God, it's just so bad. I'm so glad you didn't like it because I was so
I
worried.
wanted to so badly. I kept trying. I kept trying so hard. I do think that Trey Edward Schultz doesn't show himself badly here. Like he's definitely there's definitely a movie here. The problem is that the Weeknd cannot act. He just
No,
cannot act. He is not an actor. He doesn't know what he's doing. And he just doesn't have any kind of presence. He doesn't have like I understand that he's a pop star, and I'm sure on stage maybe he does have a presence, but like it's not present here. He's like he's so empty, and he seems to just bring scenes to a complete stop when we're supposed to be like investing in him and learning about him and trying to understand him. Then you put him in a scene with Barry Keoghan, and it's like, oh my god! It's like what? There's like an actual actor
Yeah.
talking to this guy and giving him nothing back. I mean, poor Barry Keoghan is just trying so hard. He is such a great actor. This is so effortless for him, and the weekend just is giving him nothing back.
The best scene in the movie was the 1.5 minutes of Barry Keoghan and Jenna Ortega, two actual actors talking to each other on screen.
Would have
I
felt
was
like
like,
a movie.
yeah, it felt like a movie. And it just, this to me, it felt like a music video, like a long form music video. And I imagine that that was the elevator pitch. Was
Uh-huh.
like, let's take this album and let's turn it into a very long music video and we can release it as a movie. That's the only thing I can think that makes sense based on how little they do, how it's literally there are just 10 minutes at a time of him staring at the camera or staring off into space and, like just set to like dubs of his music in the background and flashing lights. It just so sucked so bad.
I thought for a while I didn't realize that he was playing himself. Like for a long
Yeah.
time, it took a while for me to realize that he was playing the Weekend in the movie. Abel
Hmm.
Tesfaye, who is the Weekend, is playing himself in this movie, and I thought, okay, well, this could be interesting. He's playing him. He's playing a version of himself. This has got potential to be something weird and awkward and unique. And then it was just none of those things, except for maybe a little bit awkward. Um,
A little bit.
like you can just see where Trey Edward Schultz is trying to draw something out of a scene. Like you can see where through his camera work where he's trying to draw something out of a scene. But then you can see like during the music review segment, Jenna Ortega is reviewing the Weeknd's music like she's a YouTuber. Um,
Hmm.
like he just it seemed like Trey gave up at that point. Like he's like, I don't know what we're doing here. Let's just
Yeah.
get this scene over with, and hopefully we've got a movie. I guess maybe.
Yeah, you really didn't. Oh, can we stop talking about this movie? I'm so sick of it.
Oh, you don't want to dunk on it anymore?
Oh, it's so easy to dunk on. I don't want to, like I don't know. Yeah, when I found out he was the Weekend, I'm like, oh, it's because he can't act as anybody else. He's got to be himself.
Yeah. I never saw his HBO series. I only read Nathan Rabin's review of it. And Nathan Rabin just trashed it so hard, and especially trashed The Weeknd as an actor. And it's like, I now I know what he was talking about because wow, man, it's bad. He just does not have it. Some people just don't have it. I mean, some people just don't have the ability to be an actor, and he's definitely a guy who doesn't have that ability.
And I think they think because he's really good looking and he's very talented when it comes to music that, oh, well, we'll just flip him in there. And um, this is his Shanghai surprise. Let's just put it that way.
Oh, oh, yeah. Mm. Yeah,
Like
that's fair.
I can't even like this the way I like Who's That Girl? You know what I mean?
Right. There's no ironic appreciation. I can't even imagine his fans just have to apologize for this, I imagine, as opposed to trying to defend it.
Yeah, this is I mean, for as much shit as Madonna gets as an actor, she was good in Desperately Seeking Susan. I genuinely think she was doing something in Who's That Girl? Not something that would connected with most people, but she was trying to do something. And this was her in Shanghai Surprise, where she was trying to do something she was completely incapable of.
Well,
I
Madonna at
did
the
not.
very least can create a character.
Yeah. Well, and like there are certain things that she's well suited for. Like I'm going to say it because Patti LaBelle is trying, or Patti LaBelle, Patti LuPone is trending for being a racist bitch, and she went after Madonna a lot when she was
Okay.
Evita, and I think she was a really good Evita. I think she was very well cast for the movie. Um, and she acquitted herself very well. That being said, she could not. There are things that she couldn't do and shouldn't do, and that is where I am comparing The Weeknd to Madonna in that he could play a bit part on like a Curb Your Enthusiasm type of thing, where he's playing a like a heightened version of himself. I think
Uh-huh.
for comedy, but I he's not a dramatic actor. He's not in any way, shape, or form cut out to do whatever it is he's trying to do here.
Absolutely. This was truly a miss. Just remarkably bad. And it is all on him because certainly Trey Edward Schultz is going to make another great movie.
Yeah,
I have no doubt of that whatsoever. He certainly does. I mean, like some of the visuals in this movie are really great. The cinematography is incredibly crisp. Some of the camera movements are classically what Trey Edward Schultz does. Uh, but they're all happening around the Weeknd, who's just this lump of a human being on screen, tears in his eyes the entire time, and God, Terry Edward Schultz is going to make another great movie. Bottom line. So is Jenna
yeah.
Ortega. Barry Keoghan obviously is going to make a million great movies and win an Oscar one day. Um, but The Weeknd just needs to stop. He just needs to
He's going to
stop
win an
acting.
award. He's going to win a Razzie.
Oh God. Pick it up in person and never act again, sir.
Please.
Do us all a favor.
Oh,
Walk away. This is two massive failures in a row, brother. Just it's time to
mm-hmm.
walk away.
Yeah.
All right. Speaking of failures, or at least one I think is a failure, is Friendship, starring Paul Rudd and Tim Robinson. Tim Robinson is the star here as a guy named Craig Waterman who's got a terrible job as a guy who figures how to make apps more addictive. He's just this genuinely off-putting human being who has just no social skills, has no ability to relate to other human beings. And somehow the movie wants us to believe that he's married to Kate Mara, who is way out of his league and also just demonstrates no attraction to him whatsoever, or what might be a reason why anyone would be attracted to him. He manages to become friends with a new guy in his neighborhood, Austin, played by Paul Rudd, who's a local weatherman. And Paul Rudd is doing what he can, making this character funny and relatable, and trying to even makes Tim Robinson, kind of likable for a few scenes before that goes
Mm-hmm.
away and it turns into the movie that it's supposed to be, which is it's the comedy of cringe. It's that comedy that is intended to make you feel deeply uncomfortable. And I don't mind that. Like I've enjoyed Tim and Eric. I've enjoyed things like uh what's his name? Hamburger. Neil Hamburger. Like I've enjoyed, comedy of cringe and just that comedy that's just supposed to make you desperately uncomfortable. Like Andy Kaufman did that incredibly well. But I don't enjoy Tim Robinson's brand of that. I just don't get him as a person, and putting him in this sort of conventional story um doesn't it's just not a good place for him because he's so outlandishly unlikable
Mm-hmm.
in such a just a bizarre way that it's impossible to buy into to anyone wanting to be around him for any extended period of time, to the point where he would ever have been successful at his job or successfully having wooed Kate Mara or made a friend like Paul Rudd. I don't believe anyone would want to be around this guy that long.
I can only imagine in my head, like in the backstory for this character, is that Josh Segarra's character really treated her badly. Was kind of like Roy from The Office to Pam, that kind
Mhm.
of like only thinking of himself. And so she decided to go for somebody who she thought was safe. And that was Tim Robinson, who had a regular job and whatever. And then she realized that she wanted to be with the unsafe guy. Um,
Right.
and then, and then apparently maybe probably had a kid with him. Um,
Yeah.
because I'm sure that Jack Dylan Glazer's character is 100% Josh Segarra's son. Um, and it was very off-putting. I love Kate Mara. I think she is uh the more talented of the Mara sisters, and I know
Mhm.
that is probably controversial to some people, but I think she can do so much even when she's given so little, and I feel like she she really she was the like kind of the standout because Paul Rudd was doing his Paul Rudd thing. You know, Paul Rudd was being that what he was being who he is when he needs to save something.
Hmm.
Um, and you know, he was doing something different in Death of a Unicorn. He was, you know, he was kind of doing this same thing in Ant-Man Quantumania. Um, you know, I think that he when he realizes something isn't really working, he kind of puts on his Paul Rudd and just kind of sleepwalks through it. And I think that's kind of what I got from him. Um, yeah, Tim Robinson is there's something off-putting about him. I know him basically from Tim and Eric, and you know the on every reel there's the gif of him going, "You sure about that? You sure about that?" You know, that's kind of what I know him from, and I just there's just something about it that just was so off-putting, and I wanted him at the end when it looked like he, you know, they were possibly going to get back together and they were possibly going to be a family again.
Hmm.
When he did what I expected him to be doing for the entire movie is when I was just like, oh, come on. God, this sucks. And you know, it did. It ended up really, really sucking because of the fact that it it did exactly what I knew it was going to do.
Yeah.
Oh.
I thought that would have been a bold way to end the movie with him not doing that. Like at the least you can leave it on that note. And no, we got to make this as painful and cringeworthy as possible because that's just what he does, I guess. I know he's become like he was on Saturday Night Live and then he went on to his own show on Netflix where and the whole thing is him making other people really really uncomfortable.
Mhm.
That's his shtick. It just doesn't. I don't find it appealing. I don't think this is a bad movie or a bad idea for a movie. I just don't like him to such a degree that I can't invest. I can't get into this story. I can't buy into this character because I find him so unpleasant.
Yeah. Yeah, I was really disappointed. Um you know, it was an A24 movie and I think like I don't know, I think Neon is really carrying it over the
Hmm.
last year above A24. You know, it's like if they were, you know, going head to head, I would have to pick Neon right now because of this. Just painful, just hard to watch, and um,
Kind of
luckily
hard to
not
know.
2 hours.
Kind of hard to know what they're going for. I just
Yeah.
don't get it. What did they see in him that I'm not seeing?
Hmm.
What does anybody see in this guy that I'm not seeing? I
Oh,
guess
I have
really.
no idea. Yeah, I don't. I just don't think he's. I don't. I cringe is fine for like a sketch.
Hmm.
You cannot make an entire movie out of cringe comedy. It does not work. It's you pretty you're supposed to like I think guess feel for this guy because he's such an idiot. But after a while, I'm like okay, I'm bringing up The Office again, but Dwight on The Office is
Hmm.
cringe but human.
Hmm. Yeah.
And over the course of the series, or even, you know, like over the course of a season, you get to know Dwight and you get to know who he is, and he's really not a bad guy. So you do go with some of his stuff sometimes, but every decision that he makes in this movie is the wrong decision, the self-centered decision, and the cringe is not offset in any way by like humanity. And that's what I think really, you know, kind of ruined it because there's no humanity. He's just cringe.
And it's just weird. There's also these weird tangents in the movie. Like Paul Rudd's friend group is a weird group. Like their position is very odd. Like they like to sing to each other for some reason, and
Yeah, songs about like you know, my boo, you know.
yeah, which is weird. And then, but then there's this also like Kate Mara gets these like weird little things like she and her son kiss each other on the mouth, which is
Mhm.
like, what was the point of that? Where did that go? And like the whole joke about her reconnecting with her ex-boyfriend and spending time talking to him and getting together with him is meant to, like, you know, I guess is meant as a joke about how, you know, Tim Robinson is not, you know, masculine enough or not man enough or whatever, but that joke never lands. They don't do anything with it. It doesn't go anywhere.
Mhm. The whole kissing on the mouth thing, that is where I started to think that he was possibly Josh Lagara's son, because that's like her one tether to his character, Dylan, or I think his name was.
Yeah.
Um, that's her one connection to that her ex boyfriend, and it was just so fucking weird, but no payoff.
No payoffs. No, none.
So
All right, let's
yeah,
move on.
disappointing.
Very disappointing. Yeah, quite disappointing. Not worst of the year disappointing, but like just bad enough to be forgettable. Kind of disappointing.
Yeah.
All right, let's get on to Final Destination Bloodlines. Jeff, you want to take us through Final Destination Bloodlines?
Yes. We open up with our tried and true trope. Ooh, I didn't really mean to say that way, but our tried and true trope of the flashback sequence in which a whole bunch of people die and somebody sees all the signs and saves them. Well, normally in a Final Destination movie, it's the person who we follow through the entire movie who sees the flashback and then stops it, and then we see all of his or her friends die throughout the movie. But this time, the twist is that the granddaughter of the person who dies in the flashback is the main character. And she is actually seeing a psychic flashback from her grandmother. Um, so Stephanie is not getting any sleep. She's flunking out of school because she can't do anything but think about this dream that she keeps having, this recurring dream about her grandmother Iris. And so she goes to see her family, and her family, says, "Don't talk about Iris. Nobody talks about Iris," which of course means she's going to talk about Iris and seek her out. And she finally does go, and Iris lives in seclusion in a cabin, a fortress, really, where she is trying to escape and hold death at bay. And she tells the story about how she went to this brand new restaurant that had been um, with her fiance at the time, or with her boyfriend at the time, who proposes at the restaurant, and he's gotten in here, and she sees the little signs that something's going wrong. She ends up almost saving a little boy whose mom is the singer in a band, and at the very last second, the restaurant falls from the sky. Her and the little boy die. um, well, turns out she did get everybody out, and she did save everybody, and went on to live a life. But everybody that was attached to that, in that restaurant, their bloodline was literally a bloodbath, and everybody in their family who was never supposed to be dies a horrible, weird death. Um,
At some random undetermined point in the future,
yes,
which is
yes.
basically just what life is. You can die at any moment.
Yeah, but like we're talking like, I think somehow it connects to Flight 187 and the log truck from part 2 and the roller coaster from part 3. I think we're supposed to think that all of those happened based on this woman saving the lives of everybody that was in that restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
Um, which is an interesting idea, but who do we?
Not particularly well carried off, as far as I'm concerned.
No, but it was, for me, this was a Final Destination movie in that I wanted to see how people died, like in these Rube Goldberg mousetrap things, just because that's the best part of these. How does death come back and get you?
Mhm.
When you've escaped it once, can you escape it twice? Some of these people escaped death 3 times, and I think that's part of the fun of it. Like Eric, played by Richard Harmon, he gets away from a couple early funny deaths. I I don't think it's not particularly in the top uh, three of these movies, which I think nothing beats the second one for me, and we'll talk about that in a little while. But um, eh, until the until the last set piece where the um, Darlene and Stephanie and Charlie are trying to get back to the cabin. Until then, I was having a great time, and I just thought it was like funny and silly, and the deaths were great, very creative. And then you get to that point, and you're just like, oh, okay. It just kind of loses steam a little bit until the very last scene.
Uh-huh.
Um, but I had a good time. I enjoyed it. I would. This seems like a movie that when I think about movies that Sean would hate or not like very much, this seems like it would like be there. But I had a
I
really good
didn't.
time.
Yeah. I didn't hate it. I just don't enjoy it. I just don't enjoy much of this franchise, honestly.
Okay.
Looking back on it now, like I do like the first two movies, but like this movie and everything after two has just been kind of repetitious and just kind of like, yeah, the kills are interesting and how they get to them. I get it, but at the same time, this thing about bloodlines, it just feels like I don't know. Everybody's been alive all this time, and now death is like, oh, hey, you. I remember. I got to take you out. Like, I mean,
Well,
they've had entire families over this time, and I get it. Yes, it's because she's in a cabin and still alive, and death hasn't gotten her, and that's keeping everybody alive. I get it. I get it. It's got its own bullshit logic. Whatever. I don't care. It didn't. First of all, how did that woman ever, her bloodline ever get from that woman played by Breck Bassiner in the 1960s
I know
to
we're done.
Caitlin Santawana, Stephanie Reyes in this modern? How does that doesn't that doesn't track to me? I don't think that's the same bloodline. You can't convince me that's the same bloodline.
Look, I
Um,
think her dad's genes were doing a majority of the work because her dad was Latino. Um, when you texted me that, you're like, why? How come this very very white woman has a very very Latina and a very very Asian grandchildren? And I just laughed for about a half an hour after that.
I don't know. I just kind of pressing that credulity button for me. But the biggest problem that I have with this movie is that opening set piece in the restaurant is spectacular. Breck
Hmm.
Basinger is an incredible young actress. She has got presence. She's just the kind of the perfect star for this. And honestly, it made me want to see a Final Destination set in 1968, where you've got
Yeah.
to use 1968 technology to bring it around to get deaths to these places. That was so much more of an interesting movie that when she left, I was like, oh, I want to leave now. Like the rest of the movie, I found it to be so obnoxious. The rest of the movie was just intensely obnoxious as compared to that terrific opening sequence. And I was just out of it after that. I don't mind Richard Harmon, but I find him, I really did kind of tire of his shtick very quickly. His smugness really kind of got on my nerves, and oh man, yeah, the whole thing was just it was so overwrought and so oh god, and then tying Tony Todd's character into the 1968 thing I thought was interesting, but it would have been more interesting if they'd just kept it in 1968.
Yeah, I did think that the first time I saw it, I was like, you know what, I really would have loved to have seen how this played out without the internet, without, with this being the first time that this happened. Um, I and I guess with me, the conceit of these movies is that death comes for you in the order that you are killed in the vision. Okay.
Mhm.
So I get where it would have taken a long time to get to her and the little boy who we find out later is Bloodworth. Um, so I get where it would have taken because they were the last two to die. So I get where that um, would have taken so long to get to her if she was being very very careful. Understood. Um, I did I did think that there some performances were better than others, as always. I don't think that Raya Kilstead, who plays the estranged mom Darlene, I don't think she was fleshed out enough. Um,
Mm-hmm.
that that to me was like then that's why I didn't care if she died or not at the end. I was like, that's fine. Um, I was under the impression that somebody said, "Oh, spoiler," and I didn't read the spoiler part until after I read their tweet or thread or whichever. I don't know where I was when I read it.
Mm-hmm.
That had a strong tie to Final Destination 2. And when I heard that, when I saw Stephanie Reyes, I thought, and I think Iris was, I want to say that in Final Destination 2, that was the lady in the van, Justina Machado. I could swear that was her name. So I was thinking that, oh, that was her mom and she was going to come back at the end, or in the middle of it or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I just, I kept thinking, oh, that's the tie. Okay, that's the tie. But then after I saw it, I was like, oh no, wait, her name was Isabella, not Iris. So I was kind of disappointed in all that. I
Yeah,
liked,
there's a
uh,
character in Final Destination 2, I believe, that has the same last name, but they never mention it. Never comes up. So
yeah.
I don't know. Campbell, I believe was the last name.
Hmm.
Never
So
comes up.
yeah,
So it doesn't matter.
I I was hoping for a little more, but what we got, I was mostly enjoying. Um, just I I am a big fan of death finding people in the most creative Rube Goldberg ways. So, and I, I guess when they were um, getting the peanut butter cups, which I thought was funny, where he's like, "Oh, you all you got to do is die and come back, and then we can, um, then we'll break the cycle." And so he's like, "Here, there's these peanuts," and the kid, Bobby is like highly allergic to peanuts. And he's like, wait, no. If I'm gonna die, I don't want it to be from those unsalted pieces of shit. I want something good. And he gets the deluxe peanut butter cups. I thought that was funny. But then when the thing that holds the stuff in the vending machine, the circular thing, when that came out, I thought that was gonna get him. And then it turned out to be when it was the MRI machine, I was like, oh, they're gonna get sucked in, and that was a great death. And then surprise, he gets it one more way. I'm just like, it's just so fun. And like I just had fun. I
Yeah,
recommend it.
I didn't have as much fun. I would have had more fun if it had stayed in 1968. I think if it had done that, I would have had a great time. Otherwise, I found the movie to be mostly obnoxious.
Hmm.
I find, and this might be a weird comparison, and you may not follow me on it, but uh, I find that this is kind of like the "I Know What You Did Last Summer" to Scream's to Saw's Scream. You know what I mean? Like the Saw takes this type of idea of people, of setting up a death, a very complicated death, and gives it weight by giving them the chance to survive it in a way that is both philosophical and unique and definitely gory. And this one just seems to this one can't seem to decide whether or not we're supposed to laugh at this or not. I heard a lot of laughter during this movie, and I
Hmm.
don't know what it was that I was supposed to be laughing at. I wasn't
Well, you're
sure where it was supposed to be funny.
it's the ridiculousness of the kills in the movie that because I laughed a couple times. Um, I laughed when the twirly thing went through the glass and got the guy in the head. I laughed really loudly at that because it's just it's so it's that surprise and that you're laughing at the creativity, I guess,
Hmm.
is the only way I can think of it. Um, yeah, I really, I thought it was that a lot of it was clever, and that's all I really want are the clever deaths. So,
Hmm. Well, let's talk about one that was actually clever. How about that? Why don't you introduce Final Destination 2?
Final Destination 2, the best of the franchise as far as I'm concerned. Um, it stars AJ Cook from Criminal Minds later as Kimberly Corman, and she and her friends are going to go to Florida for spring break, and they're driving, and she's got her best girlfriend and two guys who I think are just friends because I can't see any of the girls with either one of these idiots. Um, they are going to get on the highway, and she sees the signs that something is going to happen, and then as she gets on the highway, a logging truck snap the chains on the logging truck snap and kill dozens of people in a horrific accident that to this day has a certain uh, generation of people getting in the other lane when they see a logging truck. She then tries to figure out the mystery of, as they start to die, how do we stop this? So she goes and she finds the only survivor from the last movie, which is Clear Rivers, which is the stupidest name ever, played by Ali Larter, who is one of my favorite people in any of these movies. And they are trying to figure out how to stop Death's design, and it is they are they're told by Tony Todd's character Bloodworth, who before we get, I gotta say I don't know if you know this, but his last lines in the new Final Destination were ad
Hmm.
libbed.
Oh.
The director said, just say what's on your mind because they knew he was sick and they knew he was dying. And so if you go back and you watch that movie, the last part that he says is all him.
Mm.
Um, so
No, that was lovely, but
yeah, that was. So anyway, he tells them that the only way to stop death from coming for everybody this time is to bring new life into the world. And one of the people who was supposed to be, who was right behind her, actually, a couple cars back, was Isabella Hudson, who was a pregnant woman in a delivery van. So they think she died in the accident. So they've got to go back and make sure that she delivers her baby. And so the whole movie is them making sure that Isabella gives birth, and that's going to stop Death's design because life that was never supposed to be should stop it. Well, they come to find out after a bunch of like really gory and kind of funny deaths that that is not actually true because she was never supposed to be in the accident. She drives by. Um, so they have to figure out who's going to die and come back in order to break Death's chain. And according to the new one, that actually worked. AJ Cook's character, Kimberly, she drowns herself and is brought back by her, I guess now boyfriend, the cop, and this Dr. Kalarjian, because she keeps saying that name, and I always that name pops up into my head every once in a while because of this movie.
mhm.
Dr. Kalarjian saves her life, and that stops uh, Death's encroachment into their lives. Um, but then they are at they inexplicably, this is the stupidest thing. So they're on a farm. They have an accident, and they get the van that they're in gets like stuck in this farm, and this pole almost kills the driver, Cat, and so they're sitting there. She's locked in. She can't get out. They're sitting there, and there's that's where a lot of them die. Well, we at the end of the movie, they go back to this farm for some reason. They didn't know these people. It wasn't like they were like the neighbors or anything. They go
Hmm.
back to this farm for a cookout. And the son, who plays Stucky on Law and Order SVU, very badly, I might say, he was like, the mom says, "Oh yeah, tell him what happened to you, when they were here." And he's like, "Yeah, I almost died. This guy pulled me out at the last minute." And then they look at each other, and all of a sudden, the kid who goes down to the grill explodes, and his arm falls in front of his mother. And I guess it's supposed to start all over again.
Hmm.
It's so ridiculous. Um, I adore this movie. This is my favorite one. I've said that about 20 times already. I think the cast is really good. Um, if it, Everybody seems kind of relatable in it.
Hmm.
The deaths are, I guess, believable is a stretch, but they all make sense in her visions in an abstract way. Like, she sees Nora, the mom of Tim, who has just died. She sees her vision is hooks, and so they call Nora and they say, "You're going to get killed by a man with a hook."
Hmm.
Well, there's a guy in the elevator with a whole box full of like prosthetic arms with hooks
Yeah.
at the end of them. And she freaks out and then like gets out of the elevator, and hilarity ensues, I guess. Um, but it's just little touches like that where I think it's done very tongue in cheek in some ways, where you are supposed to laugh at some of these because they're so out there. Um, I just think they're the most inventive deaths. It's the most, to me, the most horrifying of the flashbacks or the flash
Hmm.
forwards. Because who hasn't been on the highway behind a logging truck?
Well,
I
weirdly
actually,
enough,
when
go
I
ahead.
was driving back from California to Iowa, I was behind a logging truck on a mountain road, and my balls were in my throat the whole way.
Weirdly
So
enough, I was actually watching a video on the history of the Final Destination movies, and the guy talked about it. He said that this is actually a pretty big thing that does happen, where people definitely should not. If you see one, you definitely should go somewhere else away from it, because these accidents do tend to happen where one of these logs will fall off.
oh. I saw there was a truck, a meme with a truck that had instead of logs, it was Christmas trees stacked like that, and instead of Final Destination Holiday Edition. And I thought that was super, super funny. I don't know what your thoughts are on this particular one, but this is just, it's my favorite. I love the cast. I love the progression. I love how we have the big set piece right in the middle where, most of them actually meet their ends, and this very stupid, hilarious ending.
I love Ali Larter, and I thought the way that they used Ali Larter was terrific. I wish we could have given is it Devon Sawa?
Yeah,
I wish we could have given his character Alex a better send off than her mentioning that he died off screen. I thought that
yeah.
kind of sucked a little bit, but beyond that, though, I just really like her, and I like what they did with Clear as a character. I loved her ending, especially because
Hmm.
you think maybe that she's got a handle on this, and like she could be the Jamie Lee Curtis of this franchise, and then she's certainly not. She's definitely dead. He's definitely dead. Um, I also love TC Carson. I think he's terrific. I've always liked him, and he's such a unique casting for this. You don't see TC Carson in a role like this very often. A guy like him, and I thought he was fantastic. A bit of comic relief, a bit. Uh, he's just a really interesting guy. He's just got so much charisma.
Yeah,
So
nice window on the Clone Wars.
they're just having. There's a lot of it that's just having so much fun. And so many of these movies don't know how to have fun properly. Um, but yeah, her especially, it's like Ali Larter really makes this movie for me. Just the way that Clear approaches this new set of characters and provides just enough exposition to then die horribly. I thought that was such an unexpected thing. And I think I just wish there'd been more of this style in the future of the film, where they where it was more cohesive. I guess this feels
Hmm.
more cohesive than the other ones.
Yeah, the I guess the reason that Devon Sawa didn't come back because he was going through a rough patch in his life, and he thought he was going to quit acting. He wasn't really sure, and they talked to the producers, and he was supposed to be in it. And then when he couldn't do that, he thought maybe the third one. But yeah,
Mm.
interestingly enough, the kid who plays Charlie the um in the new one played
Mhm.
his son in the Chucky series. So
The more you
yeah,
know.
I know, right? I just think this one is top tier. I do like the first one quite a bit. I thought that was that's another thing I think with the cast. Part three is good. I think because of the leads, the rest of the cast is kind of take it or leave it for me. But Mary Elizabeth Winstead, I'd watch her read the phone book underwater. The phone book kids is what you used to have before the internet. Um, I just think she's really good. And Ryan Merriman is cute enough that I could watch him on screen for a while. Um, but nothing for me is ever going to beat the the second one and the log truck.
Mm.
So
Yeah. All right. We have to wrap things up because I have a temperature of 101 degrees right now.
oh no, that's
I'm a bit, I'm a bit under the weather, but we did this. We got the show done, and next week we've got a new A24 horror film. We've got Bring Her Back coming out next week.
yes, from the makers of Talk to Me.
Yeah, I'm really excited. They say it's not necessarily a sequel, but like it's a shared universe thing. Maybe
Yeah,
we'll have
it's
to wait
it.
and see. And of course, Karate Kid's legend. So obviously, our classic is going to be the Hilary Swank Karate Kid, right?
Oh, you're hilarious. No, it's the
Mm.
Jackie Chan, Will Smith, or whatever the kid's name
Jaden.
is, Jaden Smith. No, I'm not watching that again. I saw that in the theater like an idiot. Um, yeah, I'm really looking forward to bring her back. I don't know about the Karate Kid. I've never been a big Karate Kid person, so
Mhm. You can find out more about Bring Her Back. I've got an article up at medium.com/realscope, 10 things to know about Bring Her Back, including that little tidbit about the shared universe. So if you want to know more, again, it's medium.com/realscope, where that article is, along with my full length review of The Sealed Soil, Marvin Nabili's movie that we talked about a little earlier from Iran in 1977. And I did a piece on Karen Gillan's directorial debut. The party is just beginning because her new movie, The Life of Chuck, is coming very soon. And I wanted to look back on something that she did and remember that she directed this incredible movie that nobody saw. No one saw it. She directed it in her home country of Scotland, and I guess just didn't really make it very far out of Scotland. But everybody should check that out. The party is just beginning, and you can find my full length review of that at medium.com/realscope. Jeff, anything you want to promote?
just I've got busy June coming up. If you're in the Quad City region, come and see me at Pride Fest, June 6th and 7th at Schweibert Park in Rock Island, Illinois. I'll have a booth there. I will be at Iowa City Pride in Iowa City. And then Planet FunkCon, June 27th, 20th, and 29th in Davenport, Iowa. And that's all I've got for a little while, but yeah, definitely. I'll be posting some stuff that I'm working on for Fright Night's 40th anniversary. I'll be posting that on the Facebook page and the socials and stuff. So keep an eye out for that. And that's all I got.
All right. Thanks, Jeff.
Have a good night.